"What are you saying?" Arthur whispered. "I'm saying Mia died in Ohio 3 years ago, sir. That boy you evicted yesterday, the one Ilara adopted, that's not just her son, that's Mia's son." Arthur dropped the phone. He had just thrown his own grandson into the snow. But to understand how a man destroys his own family without realizing it, you have to go back 24 hours. It started with a lie Arthur told himself. This is just business. The fire crackled in the study, but Arthur refused to look away from the flames. If he looked at Ilara, he might see her humanity, and Arthur Sterling didn't pay for humanity, he paid for clean floors and silence. "It's a zoning issue," Arthur said, sliding the eviction notice across the mahogany desk. "The carriage house is a liability. You and the boy have to go." Ilara didn't scream. She just stood there, holding 5-year-old Leo's hand. She was wearing her fraying gray coat, the one Arthur had seen her stitching up in the laundry room last week. She didn't look at the notice. She looked at Arthur with a terrifying calmness. "It's Christmas Eve, sir," she said softly. Arthur stiffened. He opened his checkbook. This was his defense mechanism, turn every emotion into a transaction. "Here, $200, for a motel." He expected her to snatch it. He wanted her to be greedy. It would make him feel better about being cruel. But Ilara didn't touch the money. She knelt down and zipped Leo's jacket. "Come on, Leo, leave the crayons." "But I didn't finish the roof," the boy said, his voice trembling. "We don't need a roof," Ilara said, staring right at Arthur. "We have each other. That's more than some people have in a whole mansion." The door clicked shut. Silence flooded the room. Arthur was alone. He told himself he felt relief. He told himself he was protecting his peace. But as he poured a whiskey, his hand shook. He walked to his desk and unlocked the bottom drawer, desperate to read the letters from his daughter, the only person who supposedly still loved him, unaware that the woman who actually wrote them had just walked out into the cold. Does a man deserve forgiveness when he only learns to love after he's lost everything?
The sun rose on Christmas morning, but it brought no warmth to the Sterling estate. The house was silent, not the peaceful silence of a holiday, but the heavy, suffocating silence of a tomb. Arthur walked down the grand staircase in his robe. Usually by 8 a.m., the smell of cinnamon coffee would be wafting from the kitchen. Usually he would hear the soft hum of a vacuum or the scratch of crayons on paper. Today, there was only the ticking of the grandfather clock. Good, Arthur thought, tightening his grip on his mug. Order has been restored. He pushed open the heavy oak doors to his office, ready to check the Asian markets. He took one step inside and stopped. The mug slipped from his fingers. It shuddered on the floor, hot coffee splashing onto his slippers. But Arthur didn't flinch. He couldn't move. The office wasn't just clean. It was erased. The leather chair was there. The mahogany desk was there. But the life was gone. The wall calendar, where Ilara used to color-code his heart medication schedule in green and his business meetings in blue, gone. The emergency binder that held the passwords to his bank accounts and the contact number for his cardiologist, gone. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in his chest. He wasn't looking at an empty room. He was looking at his own helplessness. He realized with a sinking stomach that for 5 years he hadn't been running his life. Ilara had. He scrambled over the broken glass to his desk. He didn't care about the bank accounts. He needed the one thing that made him feel like a human being. With shaking hands, he unlocked the bottom drawer. This was his sanctuary. This was where he kept the letters from Mia, his estranged daughter. Every month a letter would arrive. Every month she would tell him about her life, her struggles, and end with the words he lived for. "I still love you, Dad." He yanked the drawer open. It was empty. No stack of envelopes, no photos, just a single spiral-bound notebook resting in the center. It was labeled in black marker. Drafts. Arthur's breath caught in his throat. He opened the notebook. The pages were filled with handwriting, not Mia's looping scrawl, but Ilara's neat, precise cursive. He read the first page. "Dear Dad, I know you're lonely. I know you try your best. The weather in Ohio is cold today." He flipped the page. "Dear Dad, I forgive you for missing the wedding. People make mistakes." He flipped again, tearing the paper. "Dear Dad." The room spun. The letters, they never came from Ohio. They never came from Mia. For 2 years the maid he treated like furniture had been writing the words he was too proud to ask for. She had seen his broken heart and tried to tape it back together with ink and paper. And he had thrown her out into the snow. His phone rang, shattering the silence. It was the private investigator he had hired weeks ago, back when he wanted to double-check Ilara's background before firing her. Arthur answered, his voice a ghost of itself. "Hello?" "Mr. Sterling? I double-checked the records. Your daughter, Mia, she didn't send you a letter last week. She couldn't have." Arthur looked down at the desk. Next to the notebook was the crayon drawing Leo had left behind. He flipped it over. "To Grandpa." "What are you saying?" Arthur whispered, the room closing in on him. "I'm saying Mia died in Ohio 3 years ago, sir. That boy you evicted yesterday, the one Ilara adopted, that's not just her son, that's Mia's son." The timeline caught up to the truth. The horror was now real. What do you do when you realize the only person who tried to save your soul is the one person you just destroyed? Do you run? Or do you finally, for the first time in your life, learn how to fight for someone else?